What is up to my parenting and Nora tribe members? First of all, Happy New Year. It is 2023, and if you're looking at this video, you, like me, have made it into the new year. I will say that I've learned my lesson from previous years. I am going to go into 2023 very gently and methodically, and we'll see what each day brings. I am not going to be the one screaming, New Year, new me, or New Year, best year ever. Nope. New Year will take it as it comes. So, in any case, Happy New Year to you. Hopefully, you have had a lovely holiday season with your families and friends. It's probably been a few weeks since my last video, simply because I was lifing over the past few weeks, but wanted to step back just to say hello, chat a little bit about my adventures, and see how everything's going in your world. So, at my last video, I talked about the need and the desire for a vacation. I am grateful to say that I was able to take that vacation. And I can say it was exactly what I needed when I needed it, and it was amazing. And so, just to share a little bit about my adventures while I was away on my travels, um, the first part of the trip, about 5 days, was in Mexico City, and the remaining 3 days was in Cancun. I will start by saying, for any of you who've never considered Mexico City as a travel destination, I would strongly urge you to put it on to your to-do list. It was an amazing city, extremely metropolitan, very contemporary, um, and it any stereotypes that you might have had did not really stand up to the city. I think for those of us, especially in the United States, there's often this I think misperception, based on the news and other media sources, that Mexico is a dangerous, dirty, dark place, and you have to be very careful there and things like that. And I have to be honest, at least in some of these major areas such as Mexico City, um, nothing could be further than the truth. It is an um, extremely diverse city, lots to do. Just like in any other major city, you have pockets of extreme wealth, you have pockets of poverty, you have all the things in the middle. And I say, for the most part, it is a city that is of not such extremes that you go from one street to the next and you see those types of swings. I think for the most part, especially for a lot of the tourist areas, especially the ones that I was in, everything is in good order, wonderful hotels, lots of amazing food, and tourist attractions and things along those lines. You cannot even begin to scratch the surface of all the things that there are to do in the city. God forbid, in a week, I would probably say you could be there for a number of months, and it would still take you a while to really get acclimated to the city and all the charm and all of the different options, either within the city or just excursions outside of it. But definitely a place for you to consider. I would say some of the highlights, again, a lot of retailers that we would recognize here in the States, if that's important to you. Lots of good food. The exchange rate is in our favor. It's about 20 of their Mexican pesos to $1. And so, especially coming from the States, huge bang for the buck. Everything is going to feel less expensive to you because of that. And so you can really benefit in terms of coming there and really pouring into the economy. I would say that the opportunities to meet people kind of on the local level and to truly experience culture are there if you choose to take it. I did stay in a relatively touristy area, but there are a lot of people that were in and out of the area. So I wouldn't say I'm insulated in terms of being able to experience the culture. Um, Also, for the most part, getting around the city is, I don't want to say relatively easy, because the traffic in Mexico City is bananas. When I say I have not experienced traffic like that ever, I can comfortably say I've never experienced traffic like that. Just the sheer volume of people, as I said, 9 million people living roughly in the city itself, and moving about. Lots and lots of cars and other vehicles on the road, lots of motorcycles, things like that. And while I don't want to say there are no traffic laws, I would say that it appears to be a given. And clearly, for someone who's outside, um, of the country, that whatever those givens are did not quite make sense to me. I would see people doing things that to me just literally like I cannot believe they just merged in like that, or they're weaving in and out of traffic, or all the things are just kind of taking off. Um, and whatnot. So definitely a level of caution that I felt that did not seem to be universally applied to the people who were driving, in particular people who walked. I said to some friends, their level of walking and their bravery, if I could walk as boldly into my purpose and future as they do in any normal day-to-day experiences, I would be in a good place. I would say, and I don't remember really seeing people as they walked across the street looking left and right, trying to check for traffic. It was almost like they walked and they just had that given assumption that no one, no vehicle, no nothing would hit them, and they got where they were going. And 9 times out of 10, that appeared to be the case. So definitely a level of comfort that I, as a tourist and outsider, did not have. So I would probably say, for those of you traveling to Mexico City, do not rent a car unless you are accustomed to driving in cities with lots of traffic. Again, some of those traffic laws are a little bit more of an understood, than a stated, and if you just have that patience and that wherewithal to kind of be daring and do what you got to do, then you might be a good driver, in the city. But if you're like me and probably most people who are not accustomed to that, I would highly caution you to not drive a car there. The Uber services are highly prevalent, very easily accessible, just like you do in the States. And so you will be able to get a car. And it probably is easier to take Uber just because if Spanish is not a language that you're really fluent in, there would be that worry that if you're accessing a cab, that you may be asking for things or getting directions, that there may be some misunderstandings. Whereas with Uber, you can put in the address and you're relatively sure you're going to get where you're going. Just a FYI, Lyft does not operate, as far as I can tell, in the city, but as I said, Uber was definitely available. So I would say to take Uber if you can. Also, as you're navigating through the city, they also have lots of buses and the metros. I did not take either of those, but they are available. And from what I understand, once you can get information relatively easy to use. I will say a caution around buses. I've heard that sometimes what is on the schedule may or may not be the case. So you could be sitting there waiting for a bus and it either not show up for a while or it came early. So if you are one of those people who really focus on being punctual and following the schedule, that sort of thing might be a bit of a challenge for you. But for the most part, if you do pack patience, as I said, and a fair dose of just kind of allowances, you'll be okay. Also, because of the congestion in the city and all the cars and people, I would say for any appointment you have or any reservations you have, let's say to a restaurant or let's say you were going to the theater, I would estimate at least double time, at least, just because you never know. It's almost similar to when I lived in DC, in terms of you can go 5 miles and it could possibly take you an hour to get there. And so there is no true rhyme or reason. I couldn't tell if it's like if you leave early in the morning versus late at night, if that does anything different for the traffic. So I would just say be cautious and give yourself twice the amount of time. It's better to get there, have a nice book or something to chill on your phone while you wait, versus sweating in your Uber and your hand kind of hovering over your phone to see if you need to call the place, to see if you can extend your reservation. So that would be the caution there in terms of transportation and traveling around the city. Um, I would like to point out that the food was absolutely amazing. Just some of the best most natural, really preservative free tasting food. Lots of street vendors. So if you're into juices, tacos, just almost churros, almost everything that you can think about, you can see it somewhere on someone's stall on the street. And I saw people, locals, tourists, everyone accessing it. So you can definitely get very inexpensive foods in that way that are very good. Also, their restaurants are amazing, vast varieties, traditional Mexican food, lots of what you'd consider international food there, whether it's Italian, Greek, lots of Japanese and sushi. Just about anything you're looking for, you can likely find in the city, just because it is so cosmopolitan and so diverse. Um, because of the dollar equivalent, a lot of the costs were very minimal. And so I would say that if you're looking for bang for buck in terms of that, you're going to get a lot of good food for a little money. Also, I would say, if you can, to sample some of their highly rated restaurants on the world's best list, restaurants such as Pujol or Quintonil. In particular, these were two restaurants that were highly recommended by a number of people. And so I was trying to get a reservation. If you know your dates and they're relatively set for your travel, you can book them months in advance. If you do not do that, there is that potential that you can have a lot of diligence and patience, as I did, in checking their wait list over and over and over again. And you can potentially luck out and be able to get in. And so I was fortunate enough to get to both of those restaurants during my time. And they were absolutely amazing, wonderful tasting menus, lots of good options, lots of great drinks, things like that. And so if you can, I would definitely look at some of those world best lists, and you'd be surprised to see perhaps that a number of them are in Mexico City. And as I said, either by reserving months in advance, or doing it and being willing to get on wait lists, you can possibly sample those during your visit. So that would be that. And then also in terms of just the cultural things. So Mexico City is an amazing city, very old in terms of infrastructure around the city. There are various ruins and other things that you can go to outside of the city. Forgive me for those of you who are listening in, as I perhaps bludgeon the name of the ruins closest to Mexico City, but I believe from my memory it is Teotihuacan. And so again, Teotihuacan, and you can look it up. And so it is a number of ruins that are about an hour outside of Mexico City. There is that misperception that it was built by the Mayans, but we learned that it was not. It was kind of a civilization before, and the Mayans came in later. So just a lot of history, walking, seeing it, touching it, and just recognizing just the majesty of something being built by basically person power, and having that appreciation for the difficulty and the precision of doing that. So again, if you're looking for something that is just one of those wonders of just kind of mankind, that's the sort of thing that you will see. In addition to seeing some of that history right in front of you, I was also able to do tours to do tequila tastings and mezcal tastings, and see things that were related to obsidian, which is one of those precious stones for them there, and jade and things like that. And so just being able to see some of the techniques done through their Museum of Natural History, and things like that. And it was just really helpful to be able to see another culture and the things that are important to them and their evolution over time. And so I would highly recommend that, in addition to doing just kind of the traipsing through the city and shopping, which is there's plenty of, to try to get to some of those museums, or to try to get to some of those other excursions or external opportunities. So overall, Mexico City was a fabulous place. I truly enjoyed my time there, particularly, as I said, just the diversity of the food, and just how rich and tasty it was. While also still feeling relatively healthy. So I invite you to, again, put Mexico City on your to-do list if you can, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. For those of you who may not have considered Mexico City in particular for a travel destination, I strongly urge you to consider it. It was an amazing city, absolutely, absolutely contemporary, cosmopolitan, just a really, really good time. I think for many of us, especially in the United States, there have been in the news and other forms of media, just this impression of Mexico and Mexican people in particular, of being a poor, lawless place, lots of crime, lots of things like that. My experience during my travels definitely would I would say they belie that. Mexico City, as I said before, is extremely contemporary. It is a large city. In Mexico City itself, there are about 9 million people, and in kind of the state of Mexico, there's probably a total of 20 million people. So, absolutely.